The enemy does not fear your good intentions. He fears your hunger. That is why he wants you weighed down by sugar, weighed down by strong drink, weighed down by endless noise. Christ himself marked the snare. But take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with carousing, drunkenness, and cares of this life, and that day come on you unexpectedly. For it will come as a snare. Luke, chapter 21, verses 34 and 35. Note the warning. It will come as a snare, because a man who is full is slow. A man who is weighed down cannot run, and a sleeping man cannot fight. He did not begin with a banquet. He began with hunger. And if you will enter this 40 days, enter it as a man under order, because the wilderness does not tolerate half-hearted vows. You are not walking into a new habit. You are walking into a verdict against the flesh. No sugar, no strong drink, no ceaseless looking, no wandering gaze, no endless noise. But understand this from the first breath. This is not 3 separate battles. It is one discipline with 3 blades, ancient, clean, and practical. You fast, you pray, you share, and the adversary will not come with a monster's face. He will come as permission. He will come as relief. He will come as just this once, repeated until your will is softened and your spirit is quiet. He does not need you to fall loudly. He only needs you to keep feeding the flesh until the flesh becomes king. So hear the gate question, the first strike. Will you starve the flesh, or will you keep feeding the chain? Because if you are here to be stirred and remain unchanged, you will leave warmed and return bound. But if you are here to be governed, to let something in you die, then 40 days becomes a blade. Now hear the pattern of the wilderness. Jesus entered it and fasted 40 days. He did not step into his work full. He stepped into it emptied. And when his hunger became honest, the tempter drew near with the easy route. Turn stones into bread. Make relief immediate. Prove yourself. Serve appetite and call it strength. This is the same temptation in your century's clothing. Take sweetness to quiet discomfort. Take the cup to dull conviction. Take the small light that steals your gaze and flee the silence. And in that sacred desert, Scripture rose like steel drawn from a sheath, cutting through the lie without pause. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Matthew chapter 4, verse 4. That is not ornament, it is order. It declares that a man is not meant to be governed by appetite, but by a higher voice. It declares that the easy way is not the faithful way. So this is how your 40 days will breathe. When the flesh speaks, the spirit answers. And every time your stomach growls, do not call it misery. Call it a bell in the watchtower, a summons to prayer. Say it once, only once, so it stays sharp, not hollow. Growl, breathe, pray, obey. 3 breaths, 1 sentence to God, 1 refusal to the flesh. Then you move. You do not linger in the doorway, because you will be tested in small moments that decide entire futures. It is late. The room is dark. Your hand moves before your mind does. Your thumb hovers toward the glowing idol, as if it owns you. The flesh whispers, look, drift, escape. You stop. You lay it aside as a man returning a blade to its sheath. You take the 3 breaths. You pray 1 clean sentence. You refuse, and you remain inside the silence you use to flee. That is how command begins, not with spectacle, but with refusal. Now hear the second blow. A fast that ends in you is rejected, because the flesh can be denied while the heart stays selfish. A man can remove bread and still worship himself. He can remove comfort and still become proud. He can become thinner and remain cruel. So God speaks, and his voice is not impressed by your empty stomach if your hands remain closed. And Isaiah does not arrive as a gentle thought. It arrives as a judgment, full, heavy, and undeniable. Is this not the fast that I have chosen? To loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and not hide yourself from your own flesh. Isaiah, chapter 58, verses 6 and 7. Do you hear it? The fast God chooses does not end in deprivation. It ends in release. So you will not fast like a man polishing his own discipline. You will fast like a man freeing his hands. You will fast, taking less, cutting the unnecessary comforts, refusing the quick relief that makes you soft. You will pray, so the empty place becomes clarity, and the silence becomes a post, not a prison. And you will share, because what you save is not yours to hoard. Time, attention, money, strength, released outward. And let this be understood, sharing will not always be dramatic. Often it is quiet faithfulness. Presence, patience, restraint, timely help given without announcing your name. Now the triad becomes real, because you are not removing three things for the sake of removal. You are placing them under holy order. When you refuse sweetness, you are fasting. Then you pray, because hunger is your bell. And then you share, because what you would have spent on comfort becomes bread, becomes aid, becomes a burden lifted. When you refuse strong drink, you are fasting. Then you pray, because evening unrest is not solved by the cup, it is governed by God. And then you share, quietly, practically, without theater. When you lay aside ceaseless looking, you are fasting. Then you pray, because silence is where you are examined. And then you share, because reclaimed time is meant for real presence, a conversation, a visit, a listening ear, a faithful hand. Now watch how the wilderness will press you. It is midday. You pass the counter where sweet bread waits. A man beside you offers a small piece with an easy smile, as if it is nothing. Your stomach growls, irritation rises. Old reflex, take, chew, quiet the flesh. You stop. And here the triad acts like a sword stroke. You fast, you refuse, you pray. One clean sentence to God. You share. You take what you would have spent and you give it. Or you turn and speak to someone you have neglected, and you listen without haste. And you learn the true purpose of hunger. It exposes the ruler. It reveals whether your God is comfort or obedience. Now hear the third blow. Hesitation is an altar, because when you stop feeding the flesh begins negotiating. And temptation no longer sounds like wickedness. It sounds like counsel. You have done well. Reward yourself. This is too much. No one else lives like this. You deserve relief. That voice wants one thing, a crack in the door. You will not crack the door. So here is the halt, the counter-strike. It is a command to stillness. Lay the glowing idol aside. Hands open. 3 breaths. 1 sentence to God. Father, I choose obedience over comfort. Then rise and perform 1 act of sharing immediately, so Isaiah's fast becomes flesh and blood. Wash what blesses your household. Speak kindly where you once snapped. Call the one who is alone. Give quietly. Lift what is heavy for another. Break 1 chain you can touch. Share 1 piece of bread you can hold. Because the wilderness is training you away from being served and towards serving. The desert is not the destination. It is preparation. Christ refused the easy path in private, so he could walk the costly path in public. He did not empty himself to become impressive. He emptied himself to become useful. And the old script returns again, wearing your own habits like a cloak. It is evening. The bottle stands ready. The small light that steals your gaze calls again with noise and escape. Your body says, relief. Your mind says, you have earned it. The flesh says, just this once. You do not argue. You do not bargain. You do not stand in the doorway. You turn away. You refuse the cup. You lay aside the glow. You enter prayer. And you share. Then the tempter hardens his voice. He pushes for the shortcut. And Scripture answers, not as a discussion, but as a command with teeth. Away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Matthew chapter 4, verse 10. Say it in your own tongue if you must, but keep the steel. Go. Not later. Not after one more glance. Not after one sip. Not after one sweet bite. Go. Because a man is not defeated by craving alone. He is defeated by the pause where he considers surrender. He is defeated when he stands at the altar of hesitation and kneels. Do not kneel there. Now hear the verdict of freedom. You are not walking 40 days to become proud of restraint. You are walking 40 days to become free to love, free to obey, free to serve, free to give. And Scripture seals the purpose like a banner raised over a battlefield. For you, brethren, have been called to liberty. Only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love, serve one another. Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. That is the crown laid upon your fast. So measure your 40 days by the triad, every day, without exception. Fast. Take less without complaint. Pray. Seek God without noise. Share. Give away without pride. If you end these 40 days thinner but colder, you miss the fast God chooses. If you end them quieter but more self-absorbed, you have only built a cleaner cage. But if you end them clearer and more generous, then the wilderness has done its work. You will notice people again. You will hear pain again. You will see need again. You will have time again. You will have attention again. And you will spend it outward, like a man finally governed. Now comes the final rally. Enter the order. Bind yourself to the training. Return tomorrow under discipline. If you loosen your grip, the old master will reclaim ground. The flesh will retake the gate. So do not loosen your grip. Do not wander. Stand your post. 40 days. No sugar. No strong drink. No ceaseless looking. No easy route. No negotiations. And when hunger rises, treat it as your bell. When restlessness rises, treat it as your summons. When the hand reaches for old comfort, treat it as a chain showing its link. Then cut it by the triad. Fast. Pray. Share. Break a yoke you can touch. Share bread you can hold. Lift a burden that has a name. Cover the exposed. Speak to the forgotten. Show up where you used to disappear. That is fasting as giving. That is prayer as focus. That is sharing as love made visible. 40 days. Let the flesh learn what it forgot. You are not here to be full. You are here to be free. Free to obey. Free to serve. Free to love.